Unless you've been living under a rock, on the moon, or in the depths of the rainforest, then you will know that Shanghai is an unbelievably bustling city with a reputation for modernity and a forward-thinking attitude.
But you might not be familiar with the city's other side.
Sandwiched in between the epic skyscrapers are a handful of rather ancient neighbourhoods that offer you a glimpse of what Shanghai was like before the glitz and glamour came along.
But if you want to explore these utterly charming alleys, then you had better be quick, for they're all about to be torn down, their residents moved to more adequate housing, and their whole neighbourhood consigned to history. 你要不要离开?
这没办法的。
So where am I today exactly? Well, this is Laoshimen, which is one of the most beautiful of these ancient neighbourhoods, and one of the few that's actually left. Unfortunately, it's also just a few months away from being torn down. In fact, you can see that already a lot of the houses are already vacated. I would love to have a chat with some of the locals and find out kind of what they think about this, but obviously it would be better if I had some local help. Unfortunately, as you can see, Nico is not with me today, and actually her friend Phoebe was going to come along too. But as of this morning, they've just been locked down in Phoebe's hotel. So yeah, looks like you're stuck with me, guys.
That's okay, Jack. You've got this.
I'm a bit curious though why some of the buildings are actually already boarded up and concreted over, and then some of them, like the ones just ahead of me, are just thriving. Like it feels like the community is going strong as ever. So it's all a little bit confusing.
Don't worry, that will soon become clear, Jack. First, why don't you give us a proper introduction to the area?
So Laoshimen actually means Old West Gate because this neighbourhood is situated next to the Old West Gate as part of the Shanghai's old defensive walls. Now obviously the walls have long gone, but this neighbourhood has survived. Apparently it's actually centered around an old Confucius temple, and all of the houses are like on lanes that come away from this temple. But I've no idea whether the temple is still here or not.
Well, I'm sure if you spend enough time walking around those fascinating looking alleys, then you will definitely come across it.
So no matter what street you walk down in any country in the world, you always know you're in the middle of a tight-knit community when people feel comfortable with each other to air their laundry in public. Love to see it.
Before I got locked up, I noticed that this is a big thing throughout the city. We would definitely end up dropping our underwear onto some poor pedestrian's head if we lived here.
Oh man, these houses are just so stunning. And interestingly, actually, this neighbourhood predates the era of like foreign colonialism. Unlike somewhere like the French Concession, where it's all like French-built mansions and things.
Although there is still some European influence here.
So although Laoshimen as a neighbourhood is about 500 years old, most of the houses you see here today are actually only about a century old, still pretty old obviously. They were built in the Shokumen style, which is a style of architecture distinct to Shanghai. It basically combines Western and Chinese influences. I guess it's a little bit similar to the Dajiaolou style that you find in Guangdong, for example.
Another place I'm yet to visit. Stop rubbing it in, Jack.
Well, I think I have found the Confucius Temple, Fuzumiao. Unfortunately, looks like its gates have closed. I'm hoping not for the last time because it looks absolutely stunning. It would be a real shame to see it go.
Yeah, I agree. Surely they can't knock it down, but who knows? Although, if you look closely, there are some clues as to the fate of this area.
So as you can see, a lot of the buildings actually have numbers spray painted on them, telling you what the fate of this building is. This one, you can see they've already concreted over the windows and the doors to stop people from moving back in and stop people squatting here. Yeah, it's just kind of sad really, isn't it?
It certainly is. Although it looks like there are still a fair few locals knocking about though.
So in 2017, the government ordered the local residents to move out of this neighbourhood. But as you can see, even now, sort of 5 years or so on, I'll tell you it's still about 50% of houses are occupied and still buzzing with activity. People are really trying hard to cling on to their community. In order to incentivize people to move out voluntarily, the government offered additional compensation and like bigger bonuses for those people who are willing to vacate on time. But I guess it just wasn't quite enough. I think there's a lot of people still clinging on to this neighbourhood, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit great to see. A little bit of an underdog story there.
Like many old Chinese neighbourhoods, Laoshimen appears to have been a pretty self-sufficient little community, with all manner of shops and, of course, food vendors.
你们有素的吗？
粉丝、青菜、
有很多。我拿一个豆，一个那个这个绿色的。
一个菜。
对，土豆有没有？没有。好的，多少钱？4块。4块。我觉得他说10块。
哎，我就是认为你听的是10块了。
中文它就是这样的，4和10它有。
对，听起来一样。
差不多的。
Oh my god, this baozi is so. This baozi is elite. Little pickled green beans. This is like my dream filling. How have I never had this before? Oh. Oh my god. Well, I guess not everyone is having to move too far afield. It looks like the hairdresser's only having to go 200 meters down the road to find a new premises. Hopefully this one works out better for them. Oh man, what a beautiful revolving door. Unfortunately, I think it's probably revolved for the last time.
That's an odd thing to get excited about, but hey, each to their own.
So out here on the outskirts of the Laoshimen area, I'm gonna make a wild guess, a wild prediction. I reckon that these mum and pop shops behind me, well, they're not gonna stand a chance in the redevelopment. But on the other hand, up here, this big ass tower block with the family mart and the other modern conveniences, that's probably gonna survive, isn't it? So there's all kinds of shops and things around here, everything the community needs, but it also seems to have a rather large amount of antiques dealers. I actually read that antiques dealers moved into the area and started buying up people's old family heirlooms as they moved to newer accommodation, all the stuff they didn't want to take with them. So, hey, if you're looking for some old memorabilia, this is the place to come. They're absolutely gutting this house, so definitely in places the demolition job is starting. They just seem to be stripping out anything of value from inside, I guess. And then I guess the next step will be tearing this building down. What a shame, eh?
Yeah, a real shame. Oh, it's such a gorgeous house. I'm sure they have a good reason for pulling it down though.
So apparently Shanghai is actually trying to cap its population at 25 million by 2035, which is just an astounding amount of people, even still. They think that the bigger that Shanghai gets, the more it might be plagued by problems that some other big cities in the world face, like over-congestion. So that is kind of the reason why they are supposedly trying to replace these older neighbourhoods with more high-quality housing. I mean, that's the official line anyway. Let me know if you agree.
Steady on, Jack. Let's not go down too controversial a road.
But one thing I was kind of curious about is then why couldn't they redevelop a neighbourhood like this? Maybe make the houses a bit nicer, put some money into it, or even kind of redevelop it as a tourist area, because it's pretty bloody beautiful. I think it's got a lot of potential. But I was actually told that these houses, because they're quite old, they weren't built for electricity, they weren't built for running water, and so they're actually kind of unsafe. A lot of them are a fire risk. You see up here, we've got like huge stacks of cables. Apparently it costs far too much to actually try to remedy that, so it's just easier to pull them down. Right, so one of the houses actually isn't sealed off. If Nico was here, there's no way she'd let me inside, but she isn't, so in I go. Wow, these corridors are so narrow. Like, the beams are lower than my head. The walls are barely wider than my shoulders. Okay, I'm going upstairs.
I really don't think that's wise, Jack.
I can barely even make it through these doorways. I think I am far too big to live in this place. I can see why they're not so well suited to modern life. It's amazing just looking in here, looking in that room. Bit of mess now, but I can just feel the memories here, you know? The place just has character, has soul.
Okay, so that's slightly odd. When I went and explored inside, I saw 1, 2 stories, but there's actually a 3rd story. I didn't see another staircase in there though, so I don't know whether they've got some secret level. I guess that secret has gone with them.
Maybe you should try and find a local who is still there to help you learn more.
都会拆除的吗？
对了，全部拆了，
所以为什么你还在这里？
马上就动迁了，
什么时候要离开？
估计明年吧。
你要不要离开？
这没办法的呀，
你会搬到那个地方？
现在还不知道了。
他们付足够的钱，你觉得？
这很难做的，怎么说呢？人也很杂的，也不是很方便。
不方便啊。
要看的，如果你私房的话，自己独上独下的，那就方便了，对吧？
啊，
去看一下。
Bless him. So this kind old bloke is just telling me about the neighbourhood, and he said that we can go to have a look at his old house.
中国在改变吧。
你希望不希望上海的新的楼？你觉得好看不好看？
我倒不喜欢，
都不喜欢。
我要希望脚踏实地点，搬到远的地方。
对，
那肯定的，
肯定的，
现在肯定很远。
很远啊。
对，年纪大的。
Oh, bless him. That bloke was so nice, taking me under his wing. I actually just met another couple of like nice younger people from Shanghai. Fortunately, they didn't want to be on camera, which I totally respect. So they were telling me that according to the Juhuihui, the neighbourhood committee, there was a vote held on whether this neighbourhood should be demolished among the local residents. And 98% of them voted to say, yes, we'd like to demolish this place. So, there you go, the locals have spoken. But as we can see from like my chat with the old fella, I think they're still sad about it, you know, and why wouldn't you be? He was saying that it's really not convenient to live here, but nonetheless, it's still got a lot of memories, you know, and I can really relate to that. Change is always hard, you know. This year we've had to face a lot of changes, that's for sure. And sometimes, even though you know something is going to change for the better, it's still a difficult process.
Gosh, you can say that again, Jack.
So you can see here on the outside of the Juhuihui, 98.78% of people in this area voted to have it demolished and move houses. So there you go. So I really hope that if this is indeed what the local residents voted for, that they have a really successful time transitioning to new accommodation.
Yeah, for sure. Whilst many residents seem excited to move to more modern accommodation, I bet it'll be sad saying goodbye to their mates.
I have actually seen a positive example of this before. In Beijing, I went to a village way out on the outskirts, and all of the residents are actually former residents of a hutong that were cleared out. They were each given like a portion of a Sehe Yuan or even an entire Sehe Yuan, depending on how big their family was. And everyone that I spoke to there seemed like pretty buzzing with it. There was lots of nice German cars driving around as well, so my guess is that they got pretty well compensated as well. A few people in the Beijing hutongs as well who told me that they would love for their hutong to get demolished because then they would get the compensation as well and probably get a place on the outskirts with like indoor plumbing facilities, a bathroom, a better kitchen and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely a very interesting debate, isn't it? I've definitely learned a lot, I feel. You know, I possibly came here with a few preconceptions, I'm not gonna lie. I thought, you know what, maybe this is just gonna be another beautiful old neighbourhood that's gonna be consigned to history, made into like pointlessly lavish apartment blocks. But after talking to people here, I've realised that even though many of them are sad to be kind of like losing this sense of community, moving on, a lot of them are also excited to kind of hopefully get better living standards for themselves and their family. And you know what? I cannot help but support that. I think that's an awesome thing, as long as they're fairly compensated. And you know what? I'd also love to see these amazing buildings turned into something, even if it's touristic or something. It would just be a real shame to see them go. But you know what, if they do go, I'm just glad I got to see them before they did. Anyway, I'll hand back over to Nico to do all that like and subscribe bollocks, because that's really not my cup of tea.
Yes, like, subscribe, and of course, don't forget to leave us a comment letting us know how you feel about the demolition of this old neighbourhood. We'll see you next time. Bye!